Everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're brand new. I am going to do my January wrap up. I am actually pretty glad with how much I read. I think I've read more this month than any other months in the past, so I'm actually pretty excited to go through this. And then I also am going to be going through my StoryGraph statistics first. That way we can see how that looks as of right now in January. And then moving forward, I'll be doing the StoryGraph updates as well for February, March, and so on and so forth. All right, so the first statistic is my reading goal. My reading goal for this year is 48 books. I have read 6 books, so I am 13% way through, and I'm actually really happy about that. Like I said, this is the most I've read in a month than I have in the past, and I think the most I've had prior is, I want to say, probably 4 books, but now that I did 6 books and I'm 2 books ahead of schedule, I'm actually pretty happy with that. So far, the main moods that I've been reading are dark, adventurous, and mysterious, and the least ones are tense and emotional. So for me, I can definitely say 100% sure that dark, adventurous, and mysterious books, hands down, have my attention, and I just like reading them. So if you have any recommendations that fit that, let me know. For the pace of the books that I've read this month, most of them are medium paced. I've read 1 or 2 that are fast paced, 1 or 2 that are slow paced, but for the most part, they've mainly been accumulated to medium paced. We also have page number statistics. Most of the books that I've read have been between 300 to 499. I've only read 1 book that has been less than 300 pages. All the books that I've read this month have been fiction books. Now, the following part talks about the genres that I've read. All the books, all 6 of them, have been young adult. We have 4 that have been fantasy books, and then the rest of them have just minor genres. So there's dystopian, thriller, sports, science, mystery, but young adults and fantasy are for sure one of the main genres that I read. Sci-fi will also get up there once I start reading more sci-fi books this year, but mainly it's going to be young adult, fantasy, and sci-fi, also dystopian. So this next part is a really cool graph that will be updated throughout the year, but it basically shows the books read and the pages read, and it does like a line graph. And so far, you can see I've read 6 books for January, and then I've read 2,175 pages. And if I read more or less books or pages than that, then you'll see the dots go up and down throughout the year, but we'll see how it goes. And then lastly, we have our star ratings. My average rating is at basically a 3.6, which isn't that bad, but you can see I have 1 book that I've rated 2.5, 1 book that I've rated 3, 2 books that I've rated 3.5, 1 book that I've rated 4, and 1 book that I've rated 5. So now let's actually look at the books that I've read this month, and I'm not going to be talking too much about them. I'm going to do little snippets. I'm actually not going to post my rating either. I think most of these books, if not all of them, are going to have their own videos, so you can check those out when they come out, or if they're already out, you can check them out. But let's get started. So the first book that I read this year is Year of the Reaper, and hands down, I love this book a lot. Like, it has everything that I want in a mysterious fantasy world. It has assassinations, it has this really cool world building aspect to it. The characters are complex and lovable, and I honestly do recommend this. And I'm so glad that this is how I started the year this year. The second book that I read this year is Mexican White Boy, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't plan on reading the book this month. I thought that this was going to be one of the books that I was going to be unhauling, but when I was looking at different reviews for it, I saw that a lot of people were actually very positive with the book, and I was like, maybe I was just wrong. Like, maybe I was just wrong. So I decided to reread it again. I do have a review coming out for this book, but you're not going to see it until May. That's when I have it scheduled to come out. But I did read it this month. The next book that I read is Shadow and Bone. Now, this one is also a reread, just like the other 2 books. I wanted to do videos for this series, but I also wanted to do them justice, so I made sure that I was rereading the books before I actually made the videos for them. So I did reread the book this month, and I still stand on my review for it. I think it's a good foundational book for the fantasy world that it's making. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts, you're going to have to check out the video. Now, this month, I also reread Siege and Storm, and I am going to be making a video for this. It's going to come out soon. I want to say first week or second week of February, but I did reread it, so my thoughts are fresh when I'm talking about it. Now, this one did take me a lot longer to get through, not because of the plot or anything. It's more so because I was reading it with my friend, and we wanted to make sure that we were keeping on track with each other. So if there were times that I got ahead, I stopped. That way my friend could catch up, or vice versa. If my friend got ahead, then they stopped. That way I can keep reading. But did finish it in January. I'm really excited to talk about this one because there is one specific character that really made this book so much better. Now, while I was taking my time reading the Siege and Storm book, I also picked up Through the Darkness, which is a compilation of three novellas that are placed in the Darkest Minds world. And I didn't think that I was actually going to read this soon. I thought this was going to be one of those books that I picked up, I guess, just later on in the future when I wanted to get back into the world. And because I had time, I decided to read through it. And I will say that out of the three, I did enjoy two of them, two of the novellas. The first one I thought was kind of lackluster in a sense, kind of like fast. The other two took their time for sure. They were a little longer than I would have liked, but I did actually appreciate the last one because it showed how the world was after the events of the third book in the trilogy, which I actually really wanted. And I was also able to see Liam grieving and seeing the impacts of his brother's death in context. So for this book, I'm not actually going to do a whole video on it, but at the moment, I will say that overall, I did enjoy two out of the three. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy the first one, but I just think the events were going too fast in order for me to like really immerse myself and enjoy it the way I should have. But the other two, even though I think they were taking their time with it, especially the middle one, I think the middle one was kind of slower than the other two, but it was an alright read. So the final book that I read in January is this one called Reconstructing Amelia, and I will say that again, this is another book that I didn't plan on reading this month. It was more so I had extra time because again, was waiting for my friend to catch up to where I was in Siege and Storm. And if my friend is watching this, I'm not throwing shade, really, I'm not. But I had extra time, so I picked it up, and it's a book that I've started, but I only got to like page I want to say 20 whenever I had started it, and then I was like, you know what, let me finally like read it. So I did finally read it, and I'm honestly on the fence on making a video for this or not. I think I eventually will be because in the future I am gonna want to look back on the video and see like what I thought about it if I ever think about this book again. But I did read it. It is a young adult mystery where there's a mom and a daughter, and pretty much the whole premise is that the daughter dies, Amelia dies, and the mom pretty much has to, like the title says, reconstruct Amelia's life to figure out how her death happened, because at in the beginning people think that it's a suicide, but she finds out, the mom, that she didn't die in that manner, and she's trying to figure out like what happened, what was her life prior to her death, like Amelia's life prior to her death. That way she can get the answers and the closure that she needs. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I am gonna make a video. I'll probably record it right after this. But yeah, I did enjoy it for the most part. It was a pretty quick read. I read it in 2 days. Granted, the second day was a Saturday, so I was able to like spend most of my day reading it. But yeah, I'm gonna make a video on it. But yeah, those are the books that I read in January. I will be making a video to talk about the books that I plan on reading in February. If you read any of these books and you want to go ahead and share your thoughts on them, go ahead and comment. You can also check out the videos that I've made for them. Again, I think the only book that I don't think I will be making a video for is Through the Dark, but everything else should already have a video made or in the process of making. Mexican White Boy, it's not going to be on my channel until May, but everything else I think has it except for Siege of Storm, which I plan on making for sure, 100% for sure. And then Reconstructing Amelia, I've during this recording have convinced myself to make the video for it so I can just talk about it and let my thoughts rum out. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any book recommendations, please comment them below. You can also like the video, subscribe to see future videos, and that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. Have a good day.